Hello. Thank you for coming along. Yes, everything's fine. Maurice in the chat room. I don't know why, but every so often, and why is that not showing up now? There's something not right, and I don't know quite what it is yet. I just tried to do my normal startup routine, which is to send out a tweet, set the Twitch name, all that sort of stuff, and yeah, it didn't work. So I had to re-authenticate in Stream Deck to both of those things. But now I notice that the chat on the right-hand side of the screen here doesn't seem to be working. So let me just maybe quickly try and see what's going on here. I don't see anything obvious that would prevent that from working. So we might just have to not have the chat show up in the video today. Unless there's something I need to do over here. It's not really something I want to get sidelined with. But I would like to know why it's not working. So the thing over... So that's an interesting story, Maurice. So let me log in here first. When I first logged like 10 minutes ago, it's been a bit of a frantic thing since then. But my camera wasn't working, so I had to, or rather, my camera was working, but it wasn't showing up in OBS. So I had to get it to work. So it basically meant deleting the source and re-adding it, and that seemed to work. But I don't know why that happened like that either. So let me have a look here and see if I can click to show widget URL. See, that hasn't changed, so let me just try putting this in again here. So Twitch chat is going to be this, and let's see if that works. Can someone try sending a message again to see if that comes through, please? Let's see. See, that didn't work. Okay, quickly try one thing. Yes. Let's do another. Is that a browser source? Is that what I use? Yes. Let's try adding that. And let's try putting this in. And say okay to that. And I'll put this over here. And you see, now it wants to work. But now it's going to show up funny until I do some other stuff. Width, height. I should have taken a note of what it was before then. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, it is there. This is annoying. I should have taken a note of the text before, the size before doing anything else, shouldn't I? Now it's going to be really 600, 500. Just leave it in there just now. Right. Bits of chat are flying in. Yes, go and try sending one more message, and if it doesn't work, I'll draw a line under it. Oh, it's really small text. I don't understand why it's really small text. It is big enough, in my opinion. Okay, fine. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so the text is there. I'll play with that later. Okay, so today, what are we talking about? Today we're going to be talking about, again, continuing this thing of updating Cake Addins to use the latest versions of things. This is becoming more to the forefront now because Jericho, one of the Cake community members, has sent out like over 140 different PRs to Cake Addins across Cake-Contrib and individuals. And this is all for the good, but it has caused a problem for people that are using Cake.Recipe. So this pull request is an automated pull request, and it is trying to do things like update to the latest version of Cake, which is 0.33, and also to fix identified issues such as the icon URL. Now, all these things are great. The problem comes in where repositories, add-in repositories that are using Cake.Recipe have a slight problem. And the problem is that things break. Let's not put too fine a point on it. So a couple of streams back, we finalized a version, a 1.0.0 version of Cake.Recipe. And the idea is that version is going to be the version that we want people to use before we break stuff in the next version of Cake.Recipe. Now, that becomes problematic because, for example, in most add-in repositories, they were pinning to a specific or to a non-specific pre-release version of Cake.Recipe coming from the myget feed. Now, that was done that way specifically because we wanted to always have the latest version coming through, but then it breaks things because the latest version of Cake.Recipe requires a specific version of Cake. So if you do this, and you are pinned to an older version of Cake, as I am in this Cake.Coveralls repository, then that's going to break. The build is going to break. The other thing that we found is that for whatever reason, the appvar.yaml file isn't correctly structured in the sense that it doesn't have a so this tools repository, which is what Cake downloads everything into, and when we run it on appvar, we cache those things in that folder. It's only triggering on the setup.cake file. So if you don't change the setup.cake file during the changes that you're making, but instead only update, say, the packages.config file, the cache isn't being invalidated. So these things are causing people problems, and it's the same problems over and over and over again. So what I'm hoping to do in this this launch hour is to go through the common pitfall problems with getting add-ins updated to the latest version, and kind of use this as a basis for to point people at, to say that these are the changes you need to make. So I'm going to use Cake.Coveralls as the kind of guinea pig for doing that. Now, what I have over here on my other screen that you can't see is I've literally got an Excel spreadsheet. I'm a big fan of Excel spreadsheets. They're really good at what they do. So I've kind of got items that I check for. So the idea is that I can go through this Cake.Coveralls add-in, tick off all the boxes, and make sure that it's updated to do all those things. Comment from Kim there in the chat room is, too bad that Addin Discover doesn't convert old CS.proj file to the latest versions. So I actually spoke to Jericho about that. I basically said to him, sorry, I'm assuming Jericho is a male. I basically said to Jericho that going forward, it's probably not worth the effort to support old CS.proj formats because we're moving away from them. So the work to put it into the Addin Discoverer to support both the new CS.proj format and the old CS.proj format probably doesn't make sense. It probably makes more sense, as I saw you doing, Kim, to an add-in recently, would be to update it to, I think it was Bower, Cake.Bower, I think we were playing with, to convert that to the new CS.proj format, and then the Addin Discoverer can kick in going forward. So that's kind of what I said to him. Just don't bother. It's not worth it. We can go through the list of add-ins and get it updated to the new CS.proj format, which means we can have other supporting different compilation targets that bit easier. So today's focus is going to be on Cake.Coveralls. Cake.Coveralls is it's got two open pull requests. One is from that automated tool that I spoke about. Another one is from a community member that's been sitting here for a while. For some reason, I must have missed this PR when it first came through. This was about switching the tool names that Cake.Coveralls uses by default. So when Cake.Coveralls runs, it looks for a it looks for a specific tool name, and now normally that is just this .exe, but Cake.Coveralls has now been published as a .NET Global tool, meaning that it has another name as well. So what I'm basically going to be doing when merging this PR is adding support for that. So I'll get this one merged in. This will then, getting this one merged in makes sense, I think, because to get pulled in first. That will cause a merge conflict with the other PR because they're both playing with the Cake.references, but I mean, that's fine. So let's go ahead. This one looks good to me. Literally all it's doing is bumping Cake versions and adding a new Cake tool name in here. So this one looks good to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and approve this. Basically, it only would be noticed when the .NET Core utility... yes, exactly. Exactly what Kim said there in the chat room. So I'm going to say it looks good to me here. And say approve. And I never actually checked to see if that was targeting the right branch, but I think it must be. So develop to develop. This is another reason to do this one first, is because it's not on a separate branch. Ideally, the PR would have been done on a separate branch, but that's fine. The bot does not rebase automatically. So the bot in this case, Maurice, is not Dependabot. Dependabot, the bot that Jericho has created is doing more than just what a Dependabot would do. It's checking for other rules in and around add-ins to say like the icon URLs are using the correct location and that sort of things. That's not something that Dependabot would do. We could add Dependabot to these repositories, absolutely, and it would do an automatic rebase. But the bot that Jericho is working on, no, it doesn't have the concept of doing that. Yes, no, absolutely. Dependabot definitely does do automatic rebasing. This one doesn't. So this is a failed build. This PR did fail the build, but it failed for other reasons, and it's one of the reasons that I'm going to come to. So I'm just going to go ahead and merge this on the premise that we will get the build to work. So let's just do a quick thank you here to this community member who did this in the first place, and we'll say apologies for not getting to this sooner. Yes, I believe that's true, Kim. So yeah, it will only automatically rebase if there's a merge conflict, and obviously you can force it to rebase with the rebase command. So we've merged that in, and that is linked to an issue which was here. So let's add this to the milestone so that it will go into the release notes. So we're at 0.10, 0.10, 0. Create that, and this for me is an improvement. It doesn't change anything. So that's that, and we can go ahead and close this issue. And then the second pull request, like I say, will now be it'll say it can't do it anymore, I think. Yeah, it's got a merge conflict, so we're going to need to fix this one. So let's jump down to here and do a git fetch upstream of pull, what was it called, 39, pull 39's head to a branch called PR39. Let's do that, and then let's do a git fetch of everything from upstream. And we will rebase this local develop branch on the upstream and push that to origin. Then what we will do is we will do a git checkout of that PR39 branch, and then we can rebase this on the local develop, and we'll get a merge conflict, which we can then hopefully see about fixing. So let's open up the merge tool and see where the conflict is. The conflict will be where we thought it was going to be, which was in the version number. So in this case, they both started at 0.28. One changed it to 31, one changed it to 33. So in this case, I'm going to pick C I'm going to pick C. Why is that not letting me pick C? Merge conflict. So confused right now. Let's do that again. Okay, merge tool. Number of unresolved. Okay, weird. I must have clicked something. So I'm going to pick C. So in this case, I want it to be 33. So that's the one we want. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and close it out. And then what have we got here? We should just have an orange file, I think, sitting, which is the new one. So we can delete that guy. So remove source Cake.Coveralls, Cake.Coveralls, orange. So now we can do a git rebase continue. And then we should be up to date. So let's just check to see where we're at. Indeed, something with the matrix. I think you're right. I think I must have clicked on something on the screen that made it commit scope. So we have two commits here. One which was fixing the icon URL, which is fine, and the other one is the updated merge conflict, which is to bump it from 31 to 33. So that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say git checkout. So because we've done a rebase, that PR is now going to be out of sync. So we're not able to merge it via the PR, but we can do a merge locally. So we can do a git merge, no fast forward from the PR branch there. And then if we push that to upstream and then origin, we should be in a position to origin. There we go. So if we go back to here and go to the code, then we look at the commits. What I tend to do in these scenarios is I'll grab a link to this here and say in this one, I'll say this has been rebased and merged here. And add that as a comment. And then I'll close this one. So I'll say to Jericho, not Jeremy, I'll say Jericho, the same sort of thing. PRT here, close that, and I'll close it with the comment. So his work is still, his commits will still be correctly attributed, because when I did the rebase, it will have kept Jericho as the author, but me as the committer. So you'll see here that there's two icons here for people that was working on that commit. So Jericho still gets his credit in the sense that he'll get a contribution in GitHub and it'll be linked to his account, but it was me that actually did the commit. So we can go here and say that this one's being included as well. Now, as per conversation that we had last time, we're going to say that this one's going to be a breaking change because we're up to a newer version of Cake, which then will break people if they don't have that version of Cake. So we'll say a breaking change here and we'll add it to that milestone. We can go ahead and close this one out as well. So now comes in the list of things that I need to change to make everything work, right? So if I go back to, if I go here, close out some of these, and we're on the develop branch. Okay, so the first thing, maybe a check mark on the fixed. Oh, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Issues closed. Recommended changes. So we did that one, and we've done that one. It's a very good idea. Let's do those. Okay. And the other one was Maurice saying, "Oh my, it will break people." It will break people only if they haven't pinned, if they haven't followed the best practices guidelines, which is to pin to specific versions of both Cake and their add-ins. So if they are, for example, in a scenario where they've pinned to a version of Cake, but they haven't pinned their add-in versions, then the next time that build runs, it will pull down the new version of the add-in, still being pinned to an earlier version of Cake, and things will break because it won't be able to reference it. exactly what Kim said in the chat room there. So there's the potential for it to be breaking. And so Kim and I kind of had a virtual debate about this in the second to last stream. And we kind of came to the conclusion that there was enough of a potential for it to be breaking to mark it as breaking, whereas previously I'd been marking ones that did this just as a kind of an enhancement and improvement. And yes, as Kim said, he won. He convinced me that it was a good idea to mark this as breaking. So that's why I've done that there. Okay. So the first thing that I want to change here has no bearing on things working or not working, but it's on my list of things that I want to do. The first is to change this name from setup.cake.recipe to recipe.cake. It won't impact on anything other than my sanity being intact. So I'm going to change this here to be recipe, and in here to be recipe, and then in here to be recipe as well, and then in here to be recipe, and then just to rename the actual file itself, rename this to be recipe. Okay, so this is going to be a maintenance commit. This has no bearing on anything. Switch to use recipe.cake rather than setup.cake. You could remove the source packages cache. You aren't using such a directory anymore unless I've missed something. We'll come back to that one, I think. So let's commit those. So that won't help the breaking build in any way, shape, or form, but it makes me happy. And I can put a tick in the box over in this spreadsheet that I've got going on here. Update icon URL has been done. We need to do those things. Okay. Where were we? So the comment that we'll come back to that one, because I think you're right. I think you're right, Kim. I don't think we are using the add karma bot to the stream. Are you trying to give me more work, Maurice? Is that what you're trying to do? I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon. But if you wanted to, have at it. There is a concept of adding a bot into the Twitch chat rooms. I haven't done that yet either. I've seen people do it, but I haven't done that yet. Yes, it is on my spreadsheet. Yes, so I'm coming to that. I'm kind of working through them in some sort of logical order. So this line I'm going to leave in here just now, because I think you're right. We're not doing that, but I want to check that as part of the build. But the one that I do want to add on here is the concept of a tools. I think I need a backslash tools packages.config, so that the cache will be invalidated as a result of that file changing. So I definitely want to do that one. So this one is part of the build. So we can do build flush appvar cache on other file. So that changes to packages.config file also result in removing the cache on cache. Get there in the end on appvar. Let's do that. Okay, good to know. So I can use both a / and a backslash, but I remain consistent with the ones that are already in there. Okay, so we are going to do, that's that one I've just done. And so the one that Kim mentioned there is pinning to a specific version of Cake.Recipe. So currently, this project, along with some of the other ones, are pulling the most recent pre-release version from my-get. So the first thing that we want to do here is not pull from my-get anymore, and instead don't specify a source in there. That means it'll go to NuGet.org by default, or by whatever you've configured your default source to be in your cake.config file. But I haven't set that up, so it's going to go to NuGet.org. And the other one is I don't want to do a pre-release anymore, but I do want to pin to a specific version. So I'm going to put this in. Okay, so this is me updating to pin to 1.0.0 of Cake.Recipe. So I'm going to save that. Now, the other note that I have here is to make sure that we're on the latest bootstrappers. I've run into a couple of projects that were older projects that were using older versions of the default bootstrappers. So what I'm going to suggest here is that we can install a bootstrapper, which is going to be that build.ps1, and I'm going to say overwrite it just to see if I'm using the latest version or not. So I'll know based on how many changes there are in here whether it was an old version or a new version. So this project isn't using the latest version of the bootstrapper, so I'm going to pull that one in, and then I'm going to do that again for the build.sh and overwrite that. And those will then be updated to be using those files. So the one thing I need to change back again is in here, that this again wants to be a recipe.cake, as does the build.sh wants to be recipe.cake as well. So that's just something I've noticed as I've been going through some of these repositories. Update to latest bootstrappers. Let's get that checked in. Use an appware.yaml file, which it is. So that's a tick in a box. Dependabots, GitHub, okay. So the other things that are on my items list are really around some kind of larger build processes. So I've got a mention on here to add things like Mergify and Dependabot and so on. I'm not planning on doing that here. I'll probably do that as a bulk change across all the ones that I've been maintaining. So I'll add in Mergify, I'll add in Dependabot as a bulk upload rather than doing it individually, because that will just be easier. Okay, so that was that, and then the only thing that's left after that is a update to this new spec file. So if I go to one that I've done before, github.com/cake, Cake-Contrib, Cake-Contrib, and Cake.Ember as an example. I've done this on here. Ooh, that's maybe a good one. That's not on my list. I'll maybe add that in. Hold on. So the things that I'm referring to on my list just now is updating to use this new license expression and this repository link rather than the old license URL. So right now this is using the license URL. So I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to put that one in. So it's all MIT, and then the only thing I need to change here is for this to be Coveralls. And I'm going to do that as a commit and say maint update new spec metadata, and say that. So what are you referring to here, Kim? I'm guessing this isn't on your list. Update the year in the license, maybe also in the new spec file. New spec must be something new. So the new spec, I tend to do this, which is 2016 to present. So I think that's still valid. In the license file itself, probably. Let's see what I've got in here. So I think that dates there is okay. Whether this needs to be updated to include and Cake contributors, I think I'm okay there, or have I missed something? Feel free to shout if I've missed out another year somewhere. I can add a note here to say, check copyright in new spec has valid date. I'll add that to my list of things to check. So we've done that for Cake.Coveralls. So I think I'm okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a tick in this box and a tick in that box. And I'm going to build this locally. I'm going to build it here to see what happens. If it builds locally, I'll then push it up to upstream and see if it builds on AppVeyor. So, drum roll, please. Maybe we should open this. Oh, that didn't look good, did it? I haven't. No, I haven't done the final thing. So this red text, this wall of red text, is it's quite a big wall of red text. So this is complaining about play sad trombone. Love it. So this complaint here is uses of a non-generic or generic Cake task builder. So between the version of Cake that this is pinned to and the version that Cake.Recipe wants, it's thrown a wobbler and says it doesn't know how to interpret those things. So that can only be because I haven't updated the tools package to the config file. So this here, so this is still pinned on here. So this itself wants to be pinned at 32.1. Now, jumping back to the chat room just a second. Personally, I usually update the license from the original year to the current year. Yeah, so I used to do that, Kim. Then I got bored of having to remember to update it. And I would only, the way I do it just now, 2016 to present, would only need to change if the copyright changed for whatever reason or the license changed for whatever reason. So I tend to cheat unashamedly. I don't think I'm violating anything by doing that because it is still valid. But you're right. If it did say specifically 2016 to 2018, then I would have had to update that version number, that license year, to be matching what it currently is. So let's run that build again and see if that doesn't get any better. Or people. Correct. Yes. So if I did go through that process and I were to go and add people like the Cake-Contrib generals, I would have to update that to be. So this should now be building. Calculating semantic version. So let's see. We are building that with version that and version 1 of Cake.Recipe. So I think we are doing better than we were before. Let's see if I can. So now it's restoring .NET packages, doing the build. We've got some warnings. I think we're okay with that. Blah, blah, blah. That was a ton of warnings. Oh, that looks like it's... Oh, that's style cop. I should probably fix those at some point. I'm not going to do that today. But that's some style cop warnings. So we shall come back to them a later day. Now it's running Dupe Finder. I don't see any reason why Dupe Finder would throw up anything that, because we haven't actually changed any code here. All we're doing is changing the references. So Dupe Finder shouldn't necessarily find anything. And like I say, if all of this works locally, I'll be able to push this up to AppVeyor. And since we added those additions to the appveyor.yaml file to flush the cache on changes to things like this, all of this should rebuild correctly on AppWare without any of those failures that we were getting before. So this is kind of anyone using Cake.Recipe today, this is kind of the process you would have to go through. As a minimum, pin to 32.1 of Cake, update your preprocessor directive to pin to 1.0.0 coming from the NuGet feed rather than from the myGet feed. Check your appware.yaml file to make sure that you are invalidating the cache correctly, assuming that you're using appware. And then everything should build correctly for you. He says. That's kind of the things that have come out of the add-ins I've updated myself, and I've seen other people updating. So for those of you who don't know, we have anyone who's in Cake-Contrib has access to the Cake-Contrib Slack channel. So there's been some discussions backwards and forward on some add-ins there in terms of making things work there. There was some red text there, which didn't look good. Could not load file or assembly cake.core. I wonder what's that's all about. Should not set fail, blah blah blah. Saying that it couldn't find version 33. Okay, so while I think about that, I'm going to push that to the upstream. Check the references in the unit test library. The unit test library is here. Oh, weird. Why are they still 31? That's a little bit strange. Did I mess up the rebase? Oh, that is a little bit strange. I was going to say I was just going to push it to upstream to see if that was an issue locally on my machine only. But I think the add-in discoverer only updated the main project. I thought it did both. But that's maybe something we need to speak to Jericho about. So have a quick look at the PR that was created. It was this one. Oh look, there's only 2 files changed. Interesting. Need to speak to him about that one. Because it would need to do both. So let's get these checked in. So this is going to be build pin to 0.32.1 of Cake. So that's going to be this one. Go ahead and stage that, and then build update to 0.33 of Cake in test project. Okay, go ahead and save that. And then let's run the build one more time and see what happens. You may get compilation issues for the test library. Depending on what it's using or has been using, yes. So let's find out. So lots of warnings. Oh, interesting. All of those are coming from the test projects. So I must not have excluded those. Normally I exclude StyleCop from running on test projects because, well, I mean, it's a test project. So some of the rules that StyleCop applies by default doesn't apply to tests. See if we now have a tada.wav. I need to add that into my Stream Deck. I need to figure out how to do all these sorts of things to have sound effects going off, and I don't do anything like that. But I have a Stream Deck that I can make do things, but I don't have anything to make it do at this point. So dupe finder and spec code are running. Then it is going to do the unit tests. So this is what was failing last time. And fingers crossed, it will all work. Dun dun dun. Drum roll. Testing. Testing. Oh, look at that. So it's creating new Git packages and it all worked. Okay, so let's do a Git push upstream. And if that build works on AppVeyor, then we'll be able to create a release, and then we can walk through that process. And then that will be the end of the stream for today. Pushy push push. That didn't do what I wanted. Oh, Git push push. Push. Origin. Let's try that again. Okay. So we've got a running build on CI. It shouldn't use any cache versions because we've invalidated all of those caches. So it should be a fresh build with all of those tools. If this works, we should then be able to do a release and get a new version pushed out to NuGet. Guess you don't test the aliases themselves, so unit tests for those is what I needed to update. Guess you don't as in an integration test, Kim, is what you're referring to. So the tests that I have at the minute are really just testing the argument parsing. I limit the unit test to just modifying the arguments that are being passed in, and then what the resulting arguments that are passed down to the command are. So no, I don't have any integration tests or testing of the aliases directly themselves. No, I maybe should, but I don't currently. Do you have an example that I could bring up to show the stream where you do things for testing of those? Would that be Cake.Contrib? Have you got that on Cake.Contrib? Oh, what have you clipped now? What have you clipped? Copy clipboard. What did I say? A tawdry salamander fun run. I can't actually hear that. Oh, pushy push push. Okay. Add my where Cake.Contrib tests. Let's have a look. So source tests code alias fixtures. So in here you have a fixture for oh, I see. Okay. And then in here, pushy push push. Love it. So in here, same settings, use specified files. I see. So the short answer is no, I don't do this. But maybe I should. So what Kim's got here is he's actually exercising the alias directly. If I go to the tests that I have, even within the Ember project as an example, source tests. In the fixture that I have, I don't override the run tool. It's a very basic test that is simply testing that all the arguments got passed in and they got the resulting arguments that are passed down to the CLI tool are valid, right? So it's make sure that all of these things are correct. What Kim's doing is an additional step on top of that, which is to exercise the alias directly. Yeah, so I'm not saying that you don't, Kim, but you've gone an additional step where you're actually exercising the alias directly. That's maybe something I should add in to the add-ins that I have. So this is a good example to make people aware of. So thank you for that. So the AppVeyor build completed successfully. We've got greens there. So let's go ahead and create a release. So we're going to get checkout -b for release. It was the 0.10 release, and we're going to take that from the develop branch. So this is git flow in action. So in here, I'm going to run the build again, but this time with the target of release notes. And what that will do for me is, if I go to issues, so Kim in the chat room was saying there that the only reason he did that was to get 100% code coverage, and I can't blame you for that. So this is the 0.10 milestone in GitHub, and it has 2 issues associated with it. So if I run this release notes target, I should get a new GitHub release created for me with those 2 issues created or added to it, I should say. So that's the 0.901, the one from previous. So running this target should create a new one, assuming that I have all the environment variables set up, which I think I do from the last stream. I think I have this set up. Please. There we go. Okay, so over here, we will get a new release created. There we go. So let's go get checkout master, and then git merge noff from that release branch that we just created. And I'm going to do a git push upstream. I'm going to get it right before Maurice clips me again. Git push upstream. And then git push origin. And to kind of complete that workflow, what we should technically do is we should go back to our develop branch. And we should merge the release branch back into develop. Now, we didn't make any changes on the release branch. We just kind of used it as a conduit to get that release notes created. So if I do this, it should be a no-op, but it's kind of good practice to finish that off. And then git branch -d, we can remove that branch there. Yeah, I did it there, Kim, and I don't remember not doing it on Cake.Recipe, but I guess we could check that while we're here, because it was on here, I think. Let's see where we are, because, or maybe I was on another machine when I did that. Yeah, I might have done it from my other machine, so it's maybe not on here. I saw that flow through on the GitHub notifications that I hadn't done that. It's not like me to forget that one though, so I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but I will need to figure it out. Maybe I forgot to push. I like that you've given me an out there. Let me just have a quick check. CD. So I'm on my Mac just now to have a quick look to see if I forgot that. I'm on the develop branch. Origin develop. Origin master. No. It says it's up to date here. So would appear that everything's up to date. So I'll need to look into that further, not on the stream, Kim. But it would suggest that everything's in sync, but I'll check. But what you're referring to is, maybe just have a look at this while it's waiting on that build to complete. Cake.Recipe. So you're saying in merges are part of the 2 PRs I've opened. So was it this one? So you said there was additional commits that weren't part of your... Oh yeah, that doesn't look good at all. So what's here then? I'm curious now. Oh look, it's not there. I agree. Something is indeed broken. I'll figure that out and let you know, and then we can rebase your PR on that. So the AppVer build completed on the master branch, so let's go ahead and publish this release, and then that should push out some notifications to Twitter and Gitter and some such once that completes, and then we should get a new what was I going to say there? A new package version pushed to NuGet.org. So again, as we discussed previously, that can take a while to go through the package indexing that NuGet has in place. So currently this will be 090, but even though we do a push, it won't appear here until that's ready. But I don't see any reasons that this wouldn't work. So let's just see where we can get to. So the last build took 3 minutes. So you can see there from the history that it was fail, change everything to update Cake.Recipe, and everything then starts working. So the process that I went through there, anyone currently using Cake.Recipe in a pre-release version will likely need to do what the process I just followed through just now. So on my own personal list, I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 add-ins to go through this process, and then once I've done my own ones, I'm going to switch back to helping out some of the other Cake-Contrib repositories that aren't quite there yet. But I need to step away just for a second. Give me 2 minutes. Sorry, apologies about that. The postman was just knocking on the door, and I had to go and answer it. At least it wasn't my mum texting this time, as per the last stream, or my mum phoning, as per the last stream. It was just the postman this time. So, assuming that this completes, I'll wait for this to complete, and then I will sign off, because that's all I'm going to have time for today. I was hoping to get 2 in today, but I think it was better to explain or provide more details about updating an add-in that had Cake.Recipe in it, because there are quite a few repositories making use of it. So, like I say, I'm going to be able to use this stream as a guide. So, while I'm waiting for that build, so people still in the chat, in the stream, is the text in the chat room big enough, or should it be bigger? I mean, I'm looking at a small OBS version of the stream, so it's hard to know if it makes sense or not. But is the text in there okay, or should it be bigger? Perfect. Okay, so that succeeded. We should have got some tweets went out. Yeah, tweet went out, and there should be a message in the Gitter room to say that it all went out, so that's good. And got the Gitter notification there on my phone. And over here, it won't appear over here until that package indexing kicks in. For most people, it probably... See, I've got a... That there is smaller on the screen. Oh, I see. So this text here could be bigger, you mean? There we go. Okay, I'll play with the chat room because something broke, so I need to figure out why that broke as well. So that's something else for me to have a look at. Okay, but for now, that's me. That's all I've got time for today. Monday night stream. Haven't decided what the topic is yet. I was chatting with Rob Reynolds, creator of Chocolatey, and we spoke about potentially doing a shared pairing session between myself and Rob on a stream specifically for changes to Chocolatey. So if that's something that's of interest, that is the potential candidate for not this Monday's stream, but maybe next Monday's stream. Rob and I have got some slated paired sessions that we want to do. So we're speaking about maybe doing that just as a stream itself. So I will keep you posted on that. The first one that's earmarked is for a review of the export command that I created many moons ago. So as part of a stream, we went through the process of creating an export command for the Chocolatey CLI to allow the creation of a packages.config file that had all of the currently installed applications or packages in it. So I still need to tidy up that PR, but one of the streams is potentially going to be from the other side of it, looking at what Rob is looking for in finer detail in terms of a PR review. And the second one is some modifications to the Chocolatey lib. Chocolatey lib, for those who don't know, Chocolatey lib is the assembly that's used by things like Chocolatey GUI for accessing Chocolatey and installing packages, updating packages, that sort of thing. There are some entry points in that API surface that aren't very good for specific things in Chocolatey GUI. So there's some refactoring work there to make Chocolatey lib more accessible to upstream callers. So that's a potential for a streaming session as well. So keep an eye out on the... so if I go here, github.com, and go to here, and go to live streams, then I try and keep this up to date. But this section here in the upcoming stream section will or should have information when I know when it's going to happen. So this Monday's stream will probably just be me here doing something. It might be more add and updating, but I might try and pick a different topic because I've got more time. So, but that's it for now. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And for now, I'm going to sign off. So, speak to you all later. Bye bye.